Welcome to this week's trilogy about promotion and specifically why, when it should feel like a win that you're celebrating, it might just be quietly cracking your confidence, your sense of who you are, and your leadership impact. So I want you to think back to the last time you got promoted. Did anyone actually tell you what was going to be different? Not in the job description sense. I'm sure you had that and knew who you'd be reporting to. But the actual role, the unspoken rules, and the way things might change for you. Things like the way the people who used to be your mates would start looking at you differently before you'd done a single thing wrong. Did anyone warn you about that? Nah, me neither. Nobody does. And that silence is the thing that I want to talk about today. Welcome to Unshakable Her, the podcast helping women in leadership build the influence, visibility and presence to make promotion inevitable. I'm your host, Caroline Esterson. Let's get started. So today, you're going to understand why the promotion that should feel like a win can often feel more like standing on a ledge in the dark. You'll see the specific moments the rules change for Cara in our story and recognise where they might have changed for you. And you'll leave with the one thing Cara didn't have on day one, the knowledge that what she felt was completely, boringly, universally normal. So welcome back to Unshakable Her. And if you're new here, hello. Brilliant timing. Please stay. This show is all about the stuff nobody puts in the leadership training. The gap between what the job description says you'll be doing and what Monday morning actually feels like. The unspoken rules, the invisible moves, the things experienced leaders know, but they've got so used to it, they've forgotten how important it is. So they rarely prepare the people following them. And today we're starting something a little bit different. Over the next few weeks, I'm going to be telling you the story of one woman. Her name is Cara, and we're going to follow her through a full arc of her career. The whole messy, brilliant, occasionally humiliating truth of what it looks like to grow into a leader when no one has handed you the map. Now, Cara is completely fictional. She's a wonderful mix of some of the fabulous women I've met throughout my career and the messy moments they got themselves into, but more importantly, how they got themselves out of it too. She might remind you of someone you know. She might remind you of yourself. I hope she does, because that's the point. You got gently introduced to Cara Mitchell last week. Now we build her properly. I hope you enjoy. Cara found out on a Friday afternoon. Her manager, JP, called her in just after 3, and she knew before she sat down because of the way the PA had looked at her when she walked past. A little bit carefully, a bit too neutral. Cara had got the promotion. She was now team manager of operations, the role that she'd been working towards for 2 years. JP shook her hand, said she'd earned it and the team were lucky to have her. Said there'd be a proper briefing the following week about the handover, the structure and expectations. She walked back to her desk, sat down and felt, well, a little bit weird. Something different to what she'd expected. Something that felt a lot like the seconds before you understand that a thing has really happened. She texted Jamie, her partner. He sent back 3 exclamation marks and a voice note of Maisie shouting, "Yay, mummy!" which she played with her headphones on in the loo because she didn't want anyone to see her cry. Happy crying, of course. She was almost sure it was happy crying. Then a follow-up message from Jamie. How did the team respond? Shit, she thought, she should tell them. Or was JP going to tell them? God, she wished she'd asked. The answer came the following morning. JP sent a team email at 8:47. 3 lines. Cara Mitchell has been appointed team manager operations with immediate effect. Please join me in congratulating her. Any questions, come to me directly. She read it at the traffic lights on the way in. 3 lines. No context, no framing, no sense of what this meant for the team or for them individually. Just a fact delivered into inboxes before most of them had finished their coffee. She thought about Dom. 6 years on the team. He'd have seen that email. He'd have known before she walked through the door. She'd not had a single conversation with him about it. She added talk to Dom to the list that didn't exist yet. It'd be item 3 by the time she arrived at her desk. The first Monday was fine. Oh, it looked fine from the outside. Cara arrived early because that's what she does, and sat at a desk that was now technically the manager's desk, and opened her laptop, made a list of the things that she needed to understand in her first week. That list had 17 items on it before she finished her coffee. Dom came in at 9:03. He'd been on the team for 6 years. He and Cara had eaten lunch together most Wednesdays for 18 months. He looked at her, said morning, and sat down at his screen. Not unfriendly, just different. The Wednesday lunches never happened after that. Not because anything was said, they just stopped. Cara noticed. She didn't say anything. She added, figure out the Dom situation to the list, which was now on item 22. She called a team meeting for the following Thursday, sent a proper calendar invite, wrote a short agenda, prepared a few things she wanted to say about how she saw the team and what she hoped they'd build together. 7 of the 11 people attended in person, 3 dialed in on Teams, and 1 sent a message at 8:59 saying they had a conflict that had just come up. Cara talked for about 12 minutes. She prepared for 8. She could hear herself going over, could feel the team doing that particular kind of polite listening where people are present but not quite there. But she pushed through to the end because stopping felt worse than continuing. Afterwards, Ryan, Ernest, 26, always the first to reply to her messages, told her it was great. She said thank you, went to make tea, stood in the kitchen for 3 minutes wondering if it had actually been great. Decided it was probably great. I wasn't entirely sure what great would have looked like anyway. She stayed until 7 that night clearing emails. There were 43 she hadn't got to during the day. She answered 29 of them, then drove home and sat in the car outside the house for 4 minutes before going in. Because she needed the transition and there wasn't one. Maisie was already asleep. Theo wasn't, and he wanted 3 stories and a glass of water and to know why dogs didn't wear shoes, and Cara answered all of it and put him down, then went downstairs and sat on the sofa next to Jamie. She said, "It's fine, it's going well," before he'd even asked. He believed her. She almost believed herself. Now, what's happening here? Cara's struggling, isn't she? She's in the gap between who she was and who she's becoming. Nobody warned her it would feel like this, and nobody gave her a roadmap to accelerate and improve her transition. The unspoken rulebook. Know the rules, own the game. And today we are right near the front page, page 13, subsection 1A, unspoken rule 13.1. The promotion doesn't change you. It changes the context you operate in. And the context, well, that changes everything. Here's what nobody told Cara on that Friday afternoon, and what nobody told most of us when we got promoted. The moment you become someone's manager, you stop being their colleague. Not because you change, because the relationship changes. There's a power dynamic shift, even slightly, even between people who genuinely like each other. And that shift changes everything. The conversation, the lunch, the coffee, all of it. I learnt this in the most specific and slightly ridiculous way possible. When I got my first mid-management role, I had a standing coffee date with the post-stream team every single day. When the promotion came, we laughed about the new desk I didn't want and the chair I didn't ask for. And then I arrived the next morning to find a "sorry you're leaving" banner across the door and a card on the table next to my regular coffee. In my complete naivety, I asked who was leaving. They all laughed. You dummy. You won't be able to come for coffee with us anymore." I ignored that as it happens. I kept going because they didn't report to me and we found a way to navigate it together. But when I got promoted again, my boss told me I needed to stop. When I asked why, he said, "Because you do, it's just not right." I ignored that too. And when I left a few months later, they gave me a proper send-off. So I have absolutely no regrets. But here's what I took from it. The transition changes the relationship, whether you acknowledge it or not. The leaders who navigate it best are the ones who understand what has shifted. Name it to themselves and stop trying to manage their team the same way they manage their friendships. Not because that warmth is wrong, but because pretending the dynamic hasn't shifted is what creates the confusion for you and for them. That's not a failure of your relationship or even of communication, though that is often where it shows up at first. It's a failure of transition design, and it happens in almost every organisation, pretty much all the time. The person gets promoted, nobody briefs the team properly, nobody gives the new manager a script for the conversation that actually matters the most. And so everyone just awkwardly muddles through and pretends it's all fine. Cara needed 30 seconds with Dom before that email went out. Not a big speech or a strategy, just, Dom, I wanted to tell you myself before you heard it anywhere else. JP is sending something today and I'd love to grab a coffee and hear how you're feeling about it. She didn't get the chance. Nobody told her to take it. Cara's mistake in her first weeks isn't anything she did. It's what she thought the job still was. She thought it was basically the same job with a different title, and it isn't. It's a different job with completely different rules and a different version of herself that she hasn't quite met yet. She's meeting her now, one small move at a time. So, what did we cover today? You now understand why the gap between promotion and feeling ready is not a sign that you're not ready. You've seen exactly where the rules change for Cara, and I'd be willing to bet you've had your own version of that Dom moment, that team meeting, that car outside the house. And you know that what Cara is feeling, that quiet, slightly airless sense that she's stepped into something she doesn't yet understand, it's just the beginning. On Wednesday, we're going into your head because what Cara is feeling in that car outside the house, that slightly fraudulent, who gave me this job feeling, has a name. Well, several names, actually. And understanding what is happening neurologically in the first weeks of a new leadership role is the difference between white knuckling through it and actually navigating it. We're also going to talk about the difference between being efficient and being effective. Because Cara answered 29 emails on her first day, she was very, very efficient. But was she being effective? And nobody had told her why those two things are not the same. So science, the real science, stuff you can use before Friday. See you Wednesday. That's it for today. But before you go, if a woman came to mind while you were listening, maybe the one who's stuck, the one circling a promotion, the one you know is quietly wondering if it's just her, send her this episode. Because she gets to feel less alone and you get to be the woman who refused to let her stay stuck, who reached back instead of scrolling on. Be in her corner like I'm in yours. See you Wednesday.